Dan, what do you think about Murphy so far?
I like it. I happened to get some good weather while I was here. Went through by the house in Forest Meadows yesterday, Phil Marshall's house, and walked around. And wanted to comment how extremely close those homes are together, number one. Number two, there in the canyon, how everything echoes. Those official police narrative says that gunshots were fired, no silencer was used, and neighbors couldn't hear because the homes were so far apart. And that was a direct quote from Officer Chris Hewitt. Now the homes are extremely close together. I heard a couple arguing about 15 homes away, and you could make out very easily every word they were saying. It just echoes. It's very open. It's very clear there, and gunshots ringing out without the use of a silencer would be, I would call it absurd at this point for a scenario like that to happen. Phil Marshall, as a devoted father, obviously didn't do this. I don't buy that in the least, that he was despondent. The estranged divorce upcoming with his wife Shawnee, and all of that is all spin on the story to make the narrative go down that he went off the hook and killed his children, his family dog, and then himself. Without the use of a silencer, like I said, the gunshots would have rang out extremely loud. This was more than likely a professional hit, a hit of some sort, not sure. In talking with one of the former Board of Supervisors here in the county, the story has basically gone away here after 4 years. Not many people are talking about it. No one wants to bring it up. But it's all still very fresh in the minds here of the residents of something so horrendous going on. I went to the high school yesterday in Angels Camp, Bret Hart High School, and I believe they've got the football jersey number 81 retired of Alex Marshall. Philip coached the little league team with Alex. Alex and Michaela were both loved in the community and in the school, and Philip himself was. Everyone that I've talked to locally says Philip was a great guy, great father, great dad, and very loving in the community. Forest Meadows, the gated community just outside of Murphy's, he was well known. He walked with his neighbor every day, did a full 1 mile lap around the neighborhood, talked with her every day, and very close to everyone in the town. So they don't believe it. I don't believe they buy it. I do believe some still have a hard time accepting the fact, and they want to believe that he didn't do it, but they still have an outside belief that perhaps that he did. But I don't see that at all. I don't buy that. I believe it was a hit 100%. Yeah, one thing you do see here in is the Freemasons, Masonic Lodge here in town. It's prominent symbolism, I guess, here in the town. And the town, being so old as it is, has very deep roots in that whole society, I should say. The museum did have a a outfit, looks like a male or a man's suit for a Knights Templar initiation or ceremony or something to that effect, along with a sword, some of the headgear, some of the hats and things like that. But very prominent, very prominent, I think, roots here in town with Freemasons and Freemasonry and lodge kind of activities. And one of the lodge here was one of the first ones, I think, in the state of California, I believe, and so they go back well over 100 years here in Murphysville with the background on the Freemasons.
Which makes it seem kind of strange why Philip Marshall would choose this area, knowing everything that he must have known and knowing all of the books that he planned on making and how dangerous it was. It seems kind of strange that he would find himself here in Murphy's as opposed to just Louisiana or wherever he was from.
In talking with one source, is the belief was while he was writing the 9/11 books, and his kids were growing up and becoming of age, preteen, teenage years, he wanted to get the kids more in an isolated area, get them out, not into mainstream, I guess, but smaller community, smaller school, and a house in a gated community to protect them is what I believe that the belief was. He was going to have an area that he would be able to write his books, focus on his book material and exposing crimes at the highest level in an area where he was able to do that. And I think Murphy's had that. The development of Forest Meadows has that. It's gated community. It's protected. It leaves some sense of protection, I think, and that's what I believe Phil was doing, his purpose of finding this location here, for those two reasons: to write, stay focused, and also protect his family to somewhat. Yeah, so the kids, I think, spent the time back and forth with both parents, and the family dog went as well. As the mother Shawnee traveled, the dog would stay with Philip Marshall and the kids, and as Philip traveled, then the kids would stay with the mother Shawnee. I think they had a very good relationship, even though they're going through the divorce proceedings per se. Shawnee was looking to get her own business up and running, small business, and Phil helped with that, and had a trip to Turkey, and with her, and then she just got done. While the killings took place the very same weekend as the murders, she was in Istanbul a second time by herself, picking up some, I believe, supplies or whatnot. A little known thing is that it's not too public, is that they had another trip planned, I think 3 weeks later, in February of 2013, to go back out there again to Turkey. So, as opposed to what the media reports say, as those two were fighting and arguing and estranged and going through an awful divorce, that was certainly not the case. I'm just going to point that out. That was certainly not the case. They had some arguments back in 2008, 2009, I believe, with some rough times, but at the time of this, that was years ago. So at the time of this, they were very going along things very good relationship.
Who found those bodies? What did they actually see? But also, was the blood that was found in the house, was it consistent with where the bodies were actually found and where they say Philip Marshall killed himself and where the kids were killed? It seems like there was very little blood found next to Philip Marshall and found next to where the two kids were found. The question has always been with the kids was, well, if they were sleeping, as the coroner said, he said it looked like they were sleeping when they were shot. How does one of them not wake up after the other one is shot? But also, why would Philip Marshall shoot himself in the hallway? Why didn't he shoot himself next to the kids or anything like that? I think we've got two interesting questions that I've never felt like I've gotten a good answer on those yet.
Very good question, and the bodies, as the scene was staged, it was obviously staged. The children were certainly not sleeping, watching television one night on a U-shaped sofa. and they were killed in their sleep. And that's most certainly not the case. The children were both executed in a nearby bedroom, and after they were killed, the bodies were simply laid on the couch next to each other to make it appear as if they were watching television. As far as that goes along with this elaborate staging of the scene. Those who'd been on the scene did recommend, or did say, how very little blood was on the couch. There was blood on the couch, but not that of a assassination close range bullet to the head scenario. There's very little blood there on the couch, as the bodies were simply laid there. As the source says, as Philip's information as far as that last book that he was currently writing, access to try to find that copy, the original and the copies of that transcript, and whether it be on a USB thumb drive or in hard copy format, the assassins were looking for that information, asking both the children that did not know. They were murdered. Philip allegedly was taken down a level to the lower level, next level down of the home, and then tortured himself. And as he basically didn't say where anything else was murdered at that point. His body then was carried upstairs, laid down in the hallway near the front door, just convenient enough for the first person on site to see through the glass pane of that front door. They laid the body down, very little blood there as well, a small pool of blood. They found the gun underneath the body. Obviously the assassins in their staging of the scene took his 9mm weapon that he did own, I don't believe it was fired at all, and shoved underneath his body and left there in plain view. And as the team of the assassin team then exited the home, taking everything then with them, including the forensics, any kind of leaving no real trail behind. But that does fly right directly in the face of the Calaveras County Sheriff's Department, saying that the children were asleep on the couch. Philip then decides to kill himself in the hallway for some reason, and end it there. The dog was also killed. The Shih Tzu named Suki was found, or police reports say, in one of the bedrooms, and allegedly the dog was found in the closet, in the corner of the closet, cowering in the bedroom. Obviously killed first. But I think it's important to keep that story out there. And although the story has slowly drifted off, if we keep it in the main, not the mainstream, but keep it out there, slowly people will come forward. It's been now 4 years later, and I think the fear that most of the locals had here, as far as some sort of retribution or retaliation for speaking out, if that has subsided, now is a good time now to come forward with any other information that you have had relating to this case, whether they're finding the bodies, the students at the school, the classmates. Michaela and Alex are very close to a lot of people. So anyone who'd like to come forward, and now it would be an excellent time for that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was going to be my next question, is what would you say to any of those people who would want to come forward, who might be scared? But I think that...
Well, I think now is a good time to come forward, and you can always feel free to contact us. We don't have to use your name. It'd be helpful, very helpful, of course, to come forward with your name and to come right out and be honest about it. But if you do have hesitations, you can always go by anonymous, or say you're unnamed. But any kind of information to come forward with, and we can certainly filter out or censor the name. Right now we're looking for, the best thing is the information, and we know there's people out there with information on this case, and as more time passes, the easier it'll be to come forward. But the problem is, with the more time that passes, people also tend to forget and then no longer care. So keep this in the forefront would be helpful.
Now, we also know that Philip Marshall was working on a new book, and that he had tried to send that book, or a transcript, to Senator Bob Graham. It didn't reach Bob Graham. 3 or 4 times Philip Marshall finally sent it to Bob Graham's house. It actually reached Bob Graham Have you heard anything more about that script? Where that script is? Who has it? Does anyone know if it even exists?
I believe from our source that that all the information, if it was grabbed, it was taken there by the assassins, and the team, the professional hit team, was located, whether it's in the laptop or the computer, on a USB thumb drive, jump drive, what have you. It was confiscated. Now the question is, how many copies did Phil have, and who else had the other copies? And that's to be determined. Yet, I don't believe there's any other copies floating around. You are correct when you say that in the final stages of the book, Phil did mail former Senator Bob Graham a copy or two to his office, only with Bob Graham to say that I never received it. So it's safe to say it was being intercepted at that end. And I'm not sure if it was 1, 2, or 3 copies, but Bob Graham did not receive it at his office. Bob Graham had Phil Marshall mail the transcript directly to his home, and he did receive that. And so that did get through just fine. Bob Graham had said that he, I guess the words were that he enjoyed it, thought it was good, he's on the right path, liked the book thus far. And I don't know if he made edits or changes or wrote, took notes on that transcript, but proceeded to mail it back to Murphy's, California, to Phil Marshall's home. This is where it's alleged that Phil never received that copy back because the post office mail carrier in Murphy's was intercepting the mail on the other end as well. So anything else that Bob Graham or anyone else would have mailed Phil Marshall directly would not have been coming to him either. If it is true that the newly transferred post office employee at the Vallecito post office did in fact take over the Forest Meadows mail route, all of that mail would have been intercepted to begin with. Now if the mail was intercepted coming to the home, it was more likely that house was under surveillance anyway, as far as the comings and goings of Phil and his kids, the times they were at the house, the times that they left, who was there, what were the routines as were being monitored by that post office employee as well. And so it goes to reason that this operation was probably, I'm guessing, 6 to 9 months in the works, but for sure 4 to 5 months, because that federal employee got papers to be transferred to that post office at least 6 weeks in advance, and then abruptly left after the killings took place and was allegedly transferred somewhere else. So that's
very strange.
That's what comes into play with all of this is the federal complicity in this whole thing. To get someone that's pretty high up the chain of command, to get someone transferred in a post office at a federal position like that by a low-level hit team, that would be something at the highest ranks.
And now we have the sheriff, Gary Kuntz, died about a year ago, I guess. And you said Chris Hewitt, Sergeant Chris Hewitt, who was in charge of the investigation, at least from the public side, he was the main contact for the media. They're both not here anymore. I mean, Chris has moved on, I guess, somewhere else. He took an early retirement, I think you were saying. So.
Yeah, Chris Hewitt was the main media relations person in this entire case. Decided to take an early retirement and has now left the Murphy's area. I think he's still living somewhere either in the county or for certain in the state, but he's no longer in the area. He left now with an early retirement. Sheriff Gary Kuntz, who was in charge of the entire legal or law enforcement here of this case, was I believe re-elected to another term and then died while in office due to either a heart attack, stroke, or something. But he did die while in office, and he's no longer here now with us as well. Another person, they've elected someone else here to come in as the sheriff. So they've got a new sheriff in town. Some high, I guess, movement with people coming and going as far as the police force. But some of the main characters in this case, the main players, Kuntz and Sergeant Hewitt, are no longer physically in the area.
Do you think it's worth maybe trying to contact the new sheriff and see if he might be open to reinvestigating this case on his own?
The new sheriff, I forget the name right off the bat, one of his very first interviews was used a couple of key phrases on his first interview when he made a public announcement that he was coming in as the sheriff. And the key word was transparency. Transparency in the department, transparency for Calaveras County, transparency with investigations. I think they got hit real hard with this case here, where many people on the outside were doubting the competency of this department. Chris Hewitt went on record, publicly to say we've got one of the best detective teams here, investigators to put up on task with any other group in the nation. Some of these comments were, one could argue that they were ludicrous, but that's still what he said. So the new sheriff coming in went on to say some nice phrases, some key words, transparency. But in talking with some of the locals here and some interviews I've done this morning and yesterday here while in Murphy's, there's no level of confidence in that either. The sheriff's department is nothing more here than basically puppets being pulled by strings at a much higher level. So there's not much faith in the competence there. The folks that I have talked to said, as far as saying, I wouldn't even waste your time with conducting an interview or trying to reach out to them, as that wouldn't help. So I have no interest as far as reaching out to the new current staff.
Okay. So what's your overall view of Murphy's?
I like it. I like the area. It's very scenic. I happen to be here on 2 days of perfect weather, but it's a very small town, very tight knit. The businesses seem to know each other. The residents know each other. The schools, kids know each other. It's a very small community, very tight knit, and I believe that's why Philip Marshall came out here and moved with his kids out here in the first place. But I think a lot of people here know what really happened. They don't buy the story. But with a small town like this, very tight knit, once again, it's very hard to go against the grain, and it really doesn't pay to voice your opinions, I think. And so what I think is most who do not agree with it have kept those comments to themselves, hoping it would just essentially go away, which I think the ultimate plan is. But we'll try to keep it moving forward.
Cool. Yeah, I think to me it always felt like a military retirement home. It's kind of what I envisioned Murphy's as. I felt like that when I first came here, and I still kind of feel like that. And we'll take a little walk over here, and I'll show you the military monument that they have for all of the fallen soldiers. So, and for anyone who thinks there is no heavy military presence here, we're going to show them why there is.
These are all folks who live here now, or that died from living here, residents?
They're at least recognized here. I would assume they're all from here. But the first one is Dennis Griffin.
it's impossible to walk through that one. It's actually dangerous. You have to get pulled right down. Yeah.
Is this stuff is all over the place?
No, it's not great. It doesn't look okay. No. I mean, it could be different formats. Okay. Am I holding in with you or are you holding in out?
Any final words on this for now?
No, I think just to for those out there, be sure to follow the page. Try to follow if you can. If you haven't read the books, Big Bamboozle, read it again. 9/11 Truth, read it again, and Lakefront Airport.
False Flag 9/11.
False Flag 9/11. There you go. That's the title. All three of these books are hard to get a hold of. They've been really, they're tough to find. Lakefront Airport on the page. There is a direct link for that free PDF, as that's now available for free, and I recommend everyone to read that as well. That is written as a fictional account of Phil Marshall's working with Barry Seal back in the early mid-'80s, but it is certainly most true, just written as fiction to be able to sell in the mainstream. But he's very good details written on the background of Phil Marshall, with dealing with covert activities and his association with the CIA back in the mid-'80s.
And this can also be found on your website, The Ugly Truth.
Yes, www.uglytruth.info. There is a page on there's a link on the left for the Philip Marshall case, and out there is the free download of that PDF version of that book that they're trying to. The publicist has said Phil's wishes was to get that out, released to the public for free. So take advantage of that.
For free. Wow. There you go.
For free. Very good book.
Absolutely. Tom Cathy and
John Cathy.
John Cathy.
Yep. Oliver North was code name was John Cathy, and for all those years with the Iran-Contra and the goings on in Mena, Arkansas, was John Cathy. George W. Bush. A lot of names are mentioned in those books.
Barry Seal. Pablo Escobar.
The cartels, all of that information, and how it was run and originated by our own Central Intelligence Agency, going back into the early '80s. There, comes around full circle. So I recommend to reread those books again. A lot of information in all three of those books.